What's going on, guys? This is Damien from The Lookout, and today I'm bringing you how to fight the 8th drop Gogeta boss monster. The set is releasing this weekend. Gogeta's gonna be everywhere, and not everyone is aware of all the cards that you can use to stop him. So if you're one of these people, this is the video for you. But before we begin the video, hit that like and subscribe button. We are on our way to 1000 subs, we're very close, and then I'm gonna give away 2 booster boxes. Now, roll the video! As with all of our videos, let's just make a quick breakdown of what can you expect in this video. First, we will go over the boss monster ruling, cause I think that there are still some misconceptions, at least not everyone is aware how it actually works. Then we will talk about which cards don't affect it, which cards can stop it, and finally, should you worry about it. In case that you somehow don't know what card are we talking about, this is the card. This is the big 8 drop Gogeta boss monster. It's extremely overtuned. I would argue that it's one of the best boss monsters ever made. I still think that the 7 drop Gogeta is better, the blue one that's banned. Like, it's been banned for a long while. But like, I'm biased, because that was my first deck, but I think that one is slightly better. So this guy, super overtuned, you can't stop him. He can end games out of nowhere, turn 4, if you're not ready for him, he just swings. He can keep restanding himself when he kills your battle cards, he can attack them in active mode, he's a board wipe, it's insane. But that's not the real issue. This is the real issue with the card. The real issue, the thing that makes this card so broken, is it's permanent. So permanent, this card isn't affected by non-Gogeta GT skills, and when this card is in battle, your opponent can't activate non-super combo card skills and you skip your offense step. You skipping your offense step means you can't combo, you can't use activate battle, so he's always a 35k attacker, no extra, abilities or anything. But the issue is, this skill prevention part. This permanent. So if anyone tells you that you can affect Gogeta with other stuff, those are lies. This permanent literally does what it says that it does. You can't affect this guy with anything. And that is the core issue. So to show you things that don't work, let's look at some examples. So, can't be affected by non-Gogeta GT. What does this mean? Here are some examples. You have Yamcha, you have a Unison, Boo Unison, should be banned Unison, and you have, Realm of the Gods, Black Kamehameha as an extra card. None of these affect your Gogeta because none of these are Gogeta GT cards. It doesn't matter if Boo is a Unison, it doesn't matter if you play Realm of the Gods from hand and it's an extra card. No, Gogeta checks if the card has Gogeta GT in its character name. If it doesn't matter what the card is, doesn't matter where it works from, it doesn't affect it. Simple. What about counters? What about counterattacks? Counterattacks don't work. They don't work at all because Gogeta's permanent says that your opponent can't use non-super combo skills in battle. To explain this, once Gogeta attacks before counter window 1, when he just attacks, battle starts. So he just negates your opponent's counter window. You cannot affect it with counterattack skills. You cannot even use them, not affect it. So yeah, if your opponent attacks with something else, yeah, you can use counterattack. If Gogeta swings, you can't use it because its permanent prevents you from using it. Now we need to look at stuff that we can actually use to combat this monster. If we can't affect the Gogeta, then what works? How do we stop it? Well, it's important to note that Gogeta can't be affected by skills. You can't affect specifically Gogeta. But that doesn't mean that it's not affected by skills that affect the player. So, for example, if you say, hey, for the next turn, player can't play like cards that cost 7 or more, they can't play the Gogeta. So Gogeta just protects itself, but if it's prevented from attacking, or like from being played or something due to an effect that affects the player instead of him, then like Gogeta is affected as well. Here are all of the cards that I've managed to find that can actually stop this 8-drop Gogeta. We are starting with blue and your new best friend, Dirty Burst. So if you're playing blue, you are playing Dirty Burst. If you're not doing it, you're doing something wrong. This is the cheapest card that can most consistently stop Gogeta in blue. So for 1 energy, counterplay 1 blue, you can counterplay Gogeta, as long as you're not affecting it directly. Draw 1 card. Your opponent can't attack with battle cards with an energy cost of 7 or more for the next turn. So when your opponent is playing Gogeta, you play Dirty Burst. You use its counterplay effect and you prevent them from attacking with the Gogeta. It works because it affects the player and not the Gogeta. Now you might be thinking, like Gogeta, this is a pretty tragic thing that happened to the game, so the best way to respond to it is with a different tragedy. Tragedy Overground. It's a very niche option that not every blue deck can use, but if you're playing blue ramp, yeah, you can use this, and it just flat out shuts down the entire Gogeta deck. Because it says whenever your opponent plays a battle card with a cost 4 or more, it's placed into their energy in rest mode instead. And in Gogeta, everything costs 4 or more. So you're just shutting down the entire deck. It works because it affects the player and once again, not the Gogeta. Now let's switch to yellow. Yellow has some toys to stop the Gogeta, and one of them is the Vegeta Unison of Fury. So this is your sideboard Unison in yellow. In the current metagame, have at least 2 of these in your sideboard all the time. Because its -1 prevents your opponent from swinging with the Gogeta due to its energy cost. -1 is activate main. Your opponent can't attack with battle cards with an energy cost greater than their current energy until the end of their next turn. So you play this guy, you -1, your opponent can still play the Gogeta, but they can't attack with it. So they can't attack anything with it. So you're flat out shutting it down. Run at least 2 copies of this in your sideboard for at least the beginning of the upcoming metagame, just in case you're playing yellow and you run into a Gogeta deck. The other solution in yellow is Lord Slug Super Namekian. Now this might not be obvious immediately, it's a bit strange, but it works, because Permanent Bond 2. When this card is in rest mode, your opponent can't add cards from their deck to their hand using non-leader card skills. Gogeta's cost is paying for drawing 1, and then Unison, you use like Goku GT, Vegeta GT, blah. Your opponent, if you have Lord Slug in rest mode, your opponent can't play the Gogeta, because drawing 1 is a cost that your opponent needs to pay to play it, and Lord Slug prevents them from doing this. So this guy, in rest mode, shuts down the Gogeta, prevents it from being played. Moving on to red. Red is struggling to stop the Gogeta, which is, just cathartic, that red should be struggling, stopping its own horrible monster. But one of the ways to stop it is through Vegito Unison. You can use Vegito's -2, which says until the end of your opponent's next turn, if they would play a battle card using a skill, which Gogeta is played this way, it's placed into their drop area instead. So you can just prevent them from playing the Gogeta. And this is the only reliable answer in red. Unfortunately, it comes out super late. It's a 4 cost. So if your opponent reaches 4 energy before you do, you're dead. That's the issue here, it's a 4 cost. It's very unreliable. My apologies, Vegito is the only answer in red, and now we're moving to the only answer in green, and honestly I don't know which is the worst one. In green, the only way to consistently stop Gogeta is through Big Amor. This is your only choice in green, so there is nothing else in the color that can affect Gogeta. And it's awful. It's probably among the worst ones. It's basically you pay 2, activate main. If your leader card is green, your opponent can't attack with battle cards with an energy cost of 5 or more until the start of your next main phase. The problem is you are paying 2 energy to, on your turn, to prevent your opponent from playing and not playing but attacking with their boss monster on their next turn. What your opponent can do is then say, oh, Big Amor is out, affects 5 or more cost. Oh look, everything else in my deck costs 4. I will just attack you with everything else. And then you're just gonna lose again. So yeah, it's an awful card, but it's your only reliable choice in green. Luckily we have a couple of answers in black, so we can just put them into any deck. First off, the one that's being talked about the most is Mechikabura, the Broken Seal. This one works in any deck. It's black, you can pay any energy for it, no specified cost, deflect, and what it essentially does is auto. When this card is played, declare an original energy cost and character name. So you say, okay, Gogeta, I honestly don't remember its full name, 8 cost. Until the end of your opponent's next turn, your opponent can't play cards with both the declared character's name and original energy cost, and you can't play copies of this card during your next turn. So for 1 turn, you pay 2, you play this guy, he has deflect, he is going to enter, and once he enters, you declare the 8-drop Gogeta and your opponent can't play it. Once again, you play it on your turn, you spend 2 energy to play it, but hey, it works. Then we have a awful Gohan card that's only here because it works, and I've said like I'm gonna find everything that works, so Saiyan Shield Sun Gohan, auto, burst 5, counterplay, counterattack. So you counterplay him, deflect. Auto burst 5. When you play this card, activate this skill. Okay. Until the start of your next main phase, you only take 1 damage from double strike, triple strike, and quadruple strike. So this guy doesn't prevent Gogeta from attacking, it doesn't prevent you from taking damage, it bursts 5, but hey, at least you only took 1 damage instead of 3. So yeah, it's an awful card, but I'm listing whatever works, so yeah. The final card, and I left this one for last on purpose because I really like this one. Shin Noble Supremacy. This one works in any deck. So yeah, black, no specified cost. Auto. When you play him, you draw 1. Costs 1. Second auto. If you have 3 or less energy, when you play this card, activate this skill. Your opponent can't attack with battle cards with an energy cost of 7 or more until the start of your next main phase. So it doesn't have deflect. Okay, it costs 1. It works only once because it says if you have 3 or less, but if your opponent went first, you're on 3, next turn they're going to be on 4, you play this guy for 1, you draw 1 card, and then on their 4th turn they cannot attack with the Gogeta. It's an amazing answer because it's like only one cost, it works only once, but yeah, I still think that like pay 1, draw 1, prevent them from attacking, that's an amazing answer. But it doesn't have deflect, so I think it's still good as, you know, a single use thing. You know, if you really need to buy time, this is 1 energy, save your ass for 1 turn. So I think it's good. The last thing that I want to address before we conclude the video is what about floodgates? Do floodgates work? You know, because effectively, you know, they affect the player. Most of them do. You know, like dormant potential, for example. or topo. So would dormant potential or topo or robotic riposte, would those work? The answer is yes. You can use floodgates to stop the Gogeta 8 drop. However, they only work if your opponent attacked with anything else before attacking with the Gogeta, because Gogeta prevents you from using counterattacks when it's attacking. So they work, but these conditions are too unreliable, which is why I didn't want to list them here. Because you're banking on your opponent making a crucial, super crucial mistake of playing the 8 drop and not attacking with it first. Like, that's a huge mistake. That's a huge and obvious mistake, and you shouldn't be banking on your opponent making such a massive misplay. That's everything, so let's summarize. Every effect that affects the player will also affect the Gogeta in some way. So you can't affect the Gogeta, but you can affect the player. Every color in the game has an answer to Gogeta, though red and green really struggle, because their only answers suck. They really suck, especially in red, but red has it worse than green, but red also is the one that's playing Gogeta, so it's fair. And finally, floodgates will work, but you can't use them if the Gogeta 8 drop is attacking you, so your opponent needs to make a mistake of attacking with literally anything else first. That's it, that's the summary. That's it for the video. Let me know in the comments below, was this video helpful to you? Do you now have a better understanding of what you can do to stop the Gogeta? Have I missed something? If I've missed something, write it down in the comments and I'll make sure to pin it so that other people can see, okay, these are other ways of preventing the Gogeta, reliable ways of doing that. But yeah, that's basically it. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. We are on our way to 1000 subs when I'm gonna give away 2 booster boxes. I read all of your comments, I try to respond to everything. I love our little community. I'm sorry that I have been away for so long. I'm gonna be away for at least another week. Yeah, I'll try to put something else out, but I'm gonna be away for at least another week because Zenke Showdown is next weekend and I need to get everything ready for it. But in the meantime, this has been Damien from The Lookout and I'll see all of you in the next video.